I recently learned about a graph called the emotional cycle of change, and how it goes is that there's like a line like this, it goes dips down and then it goes up, like higher than it was before. And that's the emotional cycle of change, where at first you're uninformed and positive, like you're optimistic, then it slightly dips down where you're more informed and you're pessimistic, then it dips down to the valley of despair, and then it slightly goes up. If you just get past it, you get to informed optimism. Then at the end, you actually get like your goals reached. You're fulfilled, all that. And I really want to focus on the valley of despair because I vividly remember that whenever I quit video games, especially, I experienced that valley of despair. So whenever I quit, right, I went through the whole cycle of change. At first, it was uninformed optimism where I was excited, I'm actually gonna do something with my life. Great. But then I got to informed pessimism where I just realized that I don't really have much to do. Because truthfully, I was an avid gamer. I would genuinely like at times I would game from 4 to 8 hours straight. 4 to 8 hours. Even on school days, I would like play a little bit, but it was horrible for me, honestly. But anyway, going back, so informed pessimism. I got to the point where I realized that I'm just gonna be bored because that honestly, gaming was my really only source of entertainment. And then I reached down to the valley of despair, where I at first I realized that yeah, I'm gonna be bored, but then at the valley of despair, it's almost like you realize that you're gonna be going through much worse. Like I realized that I'm not just gonna be bored. I literally have nothing to do. My life essentially revolved around video games. Like I would, do go to school, whatever. Like you're forced to go to school, but then later, whenever I got home, that's all I would do. So all of my personal time was spent in the video game, and I realized that I literally had nothing to do whenever I quit video games. And it was such a tough period to go through because like imagine your one source of entertainment that you used for years gets taken away from you. And also it's an addiction as well, so it's not as bad as smoking, but mentally you're still addicted to it. So you also have to go through the cycles of rehab as well. But eventually I pushed through and I got to informed optimism. I started to actually realized that it's not the only way to get entertainment is to play games. I realized that obviously duh, but I could watch YouTube, for example. I could read books, and once I got to that point, it just became so much easier. I went from almost hopelessness down here to realize like I literally have nothing to do. Like I don't want to just sit there and stare at the wall. To I actually had something to do, and past that, I just never went back to video games essentially. And it all happened because I just pushed through that valley of despair. I just found something else that like could solve the problem of being entertained. Like I could watch YouTube, I can listen to podcasts, I could read books. But in the moment, the valley of despair is the most hopeless thing that you can go through. Honestly, whenever you go through change, that's when most people give up. And if you can just push through that, you get past it and it's smooth sailing from there. It is so easy to go through from like informed optimism to just finishing whatever you wanted to start. But it's just the valley of despair is what really gets a lot of people. And truthfully, I wasn't just going through that valley of despair once. Like I did relapse many times on video games. Like I felt the need, like literally like craving to go play video games, and I did. And I essentially had to restart that whole process. But it wasn't really a restart though, because whenever you relapse, you don't go back to zero. You just slightly lose a little bit of progress, but you still are on the track. The less you relapse, the more progress you make, so that even when you relapse, you're still further ahead than you were. So don't have an all or nothing mindset in terms of relapsing. That's just a personal tip from me. But just going through that valley of despair is the most important thing. And if you don't go through it, either you go back in progress and you have to go through that whole valley of despair again, or you start something else and you still have to go through that valley of despair either way. Like, no matter what you do, you're gonna go through that valley of despair. You're gonna go through problems, you're gonna go through cravings, you're gonna go through all of it. And yet, if you don't, like, resist it, you're gonna have more in the future. And that's just a nice thing to know, that if I can just push through it now, it's smooth sailing from here. That's really, it's like, it's almost like a affirmation. If you just push through, things will get better. I hope that helps you, honestly. It really did, knowing that the hard times are only temporary. Like, even just knowing that is so helpful in staying on track. If you're interested in more, I offer coaching in the description.